Philly sports fans, can we talk for a second? What is going on with our Philadelphia teams? The Phillies, the Flyers, the Sixers, the Union. I mean, we don't need to talk about the Eagles. They're amazing. I'm still riding the high of the Super Bowl. There are people at my job that are like, "Can you give it a rest? This Super Bowl was in February, and what is it with these Eagles?" And I'm like, "Shut up, okay? We got this championship. Let us have it. We're going to be celebrating that dominant championship all the way until the start of the next season." Right? I know technically we're in it. We got the draft going on or whatever. I don't really care about the draft. I know maybe I should, but it's the draft. As good as a person may be in the draft, you never know how they're going to be on the team. I said the same thing with Saquon, right? I said, okay, he was great at New York, but what's he going to do with the Eagles? Is he going to have good chemistry? Is he going to be a good leader? Is he still going to perform? Boy, all those questions and more got answered. But we'll see what we get out of the draft. And hopefully the pieces that we lost can be those gaps can be filled with great players and talent, and the people that are still there can come together to really put those pieces back together, right? And get us another shot at a championship. But I really honestly did not come to talk about Eagles. I came to talk about everybody else. I was going to start and just make a Phillies video because they had started off so hot. They had started off really good. And I was like, okay, here we go. We are ready for another run at the World Series. I don't know why I have a brain fart. We're ready for another run at the World Series. Do you see how our boys are falling apart already? Again, I prefer it now than later, but they're already starting to fall apart. So I was gonna wait. I intended, because baseball has so many games, I intended to go like week by week. So when the first week ended, we were, I think, like 6-1 or something like that. So boom, great streak. But now we're 13-12. Now we're 13-12. So we're behind the Mets by a lot. We're just over 500, but we're behind the Mets in our division by like 6 games, 5-6 games. But then you look around and you see that the Cubs in the National League are 16-10. You'll see the Padres are 17-8. And that's all in the National League. In the American League, you see the Yankees, they're 15-10. So they're roughly around the same as us. Tigers are 15-10, roughly around the same. Mariners are 14-11. So again, roughly about the same. These guys are just a little bit above 500. But in our National League, everybody else is outperforming us. Everybody else is outpacing us. So I mean, there's a lot of games in baseball, so we'll just have to see how it goes. Then you have the Union, which I'm excited to go to a Union game coming up soon. Hopefully, the grandbabies will have a lot of fun. But they are 9-5. Now, that's tied with a whole lot of other people. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that are 9-5, and then you have a couple of people that are 9-4, 9-3. So they're not too far out the pack. But in standing wise, for our conference, for the Eastern Conference, we're 5. For the Western Conference, honestly, it's kind of funny. There's a bunch of 9-5s, 9-6. 9-4s, all the way to 7. So we're kind of right there among the top performers, not too bad. Um, but not where we want to be back in the MLS Cup. We want to be back in that cup. I think I mentioned this in another video, but the year that the Eagles were in the Super Bowl for Super Bowl 57, so what's that? 2 years ago, we had the Phillies in the we had the Union in the MLS Cup, we had the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and we had the Phillies in the World Series, and we lost all of them back to back to back. Oh, it turned from being one of the greatest years of being a Philadelphia sports fan, with all three of your teams competing for a championship and potentially having three different teams win a championship. I think it only happened once or twice before that where a city had that, where all of them won, if I'm not mistaken, to being one of the worst where we just could not pull the trigger on anything. We just fell flat on everything. The Phillies, I mean, the MLS Cup, in my opinion, wasn't the real heartbreaker of that. It was really the Phillies and the Eagles. The Phillies, because they had beat the brakes off of everybody during the season. That was the season where the Braves had the best record ever with over 100 wins, and they just looked like unstoppable. And the Phillies took them out in the first round. And then you had the Eagles, where we dominated the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes in this next dynasty all the way up until the buzzer. We came back, we faced adversity. We had Jalen playing for his life. And then we get this phantom penalty with a holding that really, okay, if we want to say, so I don't sound crazy, that it wasn't a holding, he did tug his shirt a little bit, but it wasn't the type of holding that was egregious that stopped the player from being able to make the play. The ball still, he wasn't going to catch that even if you hadn't held him. And that type of penalty had been going on all game and hadn't been called, that slight tug. But then here at the end, you call that, and then they drain the clock and kick the field goal and win. Those two were heartbreakers. The city was ready for 3 parades. We were ready for 3 parades, and we didn't even get one. So we're just not performing to our standard, to our goals. We got the Sixers. I talked about them a couple of times. They stunk. I mean, they were absolutely putrid. 24-58. Preseason, they looked hot, they looked fresh, they looked in sync. I was like, all right, here we go, another playoff run, but do we just fall short in the playoffs like we've been doing for the last couple of years? Oh, boy. We couldn't even sniff playoffs. We played so bad, I don't even know if we got playoff tickets. I don't even know if our players got playoff tickets. That was abysmal. That was a bad Sixers year. But from all the other teams, I was kind of okay with the Sixers falling off this year because they had been over and over and over again getting to the playoffs and underperforming. So I was like, all right, bet. There's no shot at the playoffs. Lick your wounds, do something better with the entire squad, and come back next year, hopefully with renewed vigor, right? You're not in the playoffs this year. You don't have that even the hope of the championship. Maybe you can do better in the following season. And the Flyers. Can't forget the Flyers. The Flyers are dead last in our division, in the Metropolitan Division, at 82-33. The top team in our division, the Capitals, are 82-51. And in the other division, the Atlantic Division, the Maple Leafs are 82-52. Then in the Western Conference, you have the Jets at 82-56. And you have the Golden Knights at 82-50. So the Flyers didn't perform. And it's odd with the Flyers that I don't remember the last time we competed for a Stanley Cup. I can't even recall. Let me see real quick. Flyers in the Stanley Cup. Okay, they've won it twice, but that's fine. The 1974, 1975, but when was the last time they were in it? Okay, so the Flyers lost the Stanley Cup Finals in 80, 85, 87, 97, and 2010. Okay, so we've been to the dance a bunch of times with the Flyers, but again, just haven't pulled the trigger. It's interesting that we won it in 74, 75, and we're back in it at 76. We could have three-peated, but we didn't. So the most recent one was 2010, it looks like, and we didn't win it. That was 15 years ago. Flyers got to do better. They got to do better. They got to come with some more heat and reignite the Flyer passion in the city. Because I'd love to cheer them on for the Stanley Cup. I mentioned this with sports. I am a Philadelphia sports fan through and through. But I don't believe in wasting my money and time on teams that underperform. If somebody asks me, who's your hockey team, I'm going to say the Flyers. And they're going to say they stink, and I'm going to agree. If somebody asks me, who's my basketball team, every team, I'm going to say the Philadelphia team. And I will admit to what level of performance they perform during the season or currently, if the season is still going, with no problem. Okay, my team stinks. And well, you want a cookie? However, if they are winning, I'm going to invest my time in watching. I'm going to invest my time in tuning in. I'm going to invest my time in the players and going to the sports bars and eating food and high-fiving my fellow Philly fans. But I'm not the kind of blind fan that's just going to be out spending money on a team that's not winning. To me, that doesn't make sense. And I think for a lot of other fans, it doesn't. It's why attendance is low when your team is bad, and they try to sell the tickets for $5 plus popcorn plus soda, because fans don't want to go and watch their team get beat up on and shellacked all over the place. So I'm not a fair weather fan where they're only my team if they're winning. I'm just not going to spend my money. I'm just not going to be a patron of spending my money. So Flyers got to do better. Phillies got to do better. Sixers got to do better. Union got to do better. Eagles, keep doing great, okay? Can you win Super Bowl 60 for us, please? To keep propping up the other teams, can you please win Super Bowl 60 so we can go absolutely nuts? I don't think you'll ever win again in the same dominant fashion. Well, I don't want to say that. I don't even want to jinx that, put that in the air. I hope you win in the same electric, dominant fashion that you won Super Bowl 59 in, because that was our beatdown. I know I came back to the Eagles. It wasn't really Eagles video, but they just bring so much joy in the way, not only the win, but the way they won, that it kind of overshadows all these other losses, right? You're like, okay, our other teams didn't perform well, but what about them Eagles? They destroyed another dynasty in the biggest game, in the biggest stage, where all the other teams act like they can't get it done. With the Ravens and the Bills and the Bengals and whoever else, the 49ers, whoever else go against them, act like these guys are unstoppable. They're monsters. They can't be dealt with. And the Eagles walk in like, this is who y'all couldn't beat? You couldn't beat them. You see what we did? Can we do that again in Super Bowl 60? It doesn't need to be the Chiefs. I really would like to see like Eagles Ravens with the two running backs. I would love to see that. I would love to see Eagles Bills with Josh Allen. Give Buffalo hope that they can get it done just to crush it. I know what I mean. Eagles versus anybody. Eagles versus anybody who's competitive. We're done with the Chiefs. twice we've really shown that we can beat them, and they're not unstoppable juggernauts. I really like to see the Eagles versus somebody else. And if it's not the Eagles, I wouldn't mind a team that has never won one. I know what it feels like to have your first one with Nick Foles in them. So if Detroit or Minnesota or the Falcons, if they get there, uh, hopefully they can win it and their fan base can experience their first one. But obviously, I'm pulling for the Eagles versus anybody. Philly teams, owners, players. Can you give us something else to cheer for this year, or this year, in the next season? We appreciate it. All right, check it later.